So I'm cheating the system here. I've already sprayed. I'm flashed off. It's just starting to sit down. But now I'm gonna run it with only one component on and the last one on. And it's at a low gas percentage. This one's off. They're both in basically preheat. And this one's at 11. So I ran them through the machine at 4 wet mills. It ran through just in preheat. I'm trying to get a little ahead. Because it's already flashed off, I want to do almost a second just warm up. I'm going to do 11% on this, then I'm going to bring them back in, and I'm going to go 15, 21, 65. And then it's going to raise the temperature up to about 90 degrees. I'm going to let it drop down to 70, then I'll be able to flip them and do the faces. All right, so this is our basically our second warm up. And it's really starting to sit down. This is a water-based coating. So I know what you're thinking. So this is our second run through. And you can start seeing it's tightening up. It's basically a lake. The wind is stopping and the water's gonna start to sit. So if you watch water-based coating dry in regular air, this is what it would look like after about 30 to 40 minutes. All right, I'm gonna bring them back to the heater. I'm gonna let them sit here. I'm gonna fiddle with this for a second. So right now I'm gonna change the first one to 18, the second one to 22, and the last one is 60. And this is gonna give me my cure. Then I'm gonna be able to cool them off, flip them, and do the faces. You can see it's nice, it's tightening up nicely. This is a 10 sheen, and this is our control group, if you will. This, we're doing nothing. We're gonna just let these sit and air dry. 4 wet mills air drying versus using the Unidry. And this really hasn't even gone through a full catalyzation yet. Let's run them through. Now while you're doing the heater, you gotta make sure that the tips are cleaned out. I like to just spray a little just to make sure they're not clogged up. And you see that really sharp straight line right in the front. This is a good practice to blow out the tip before you're gonna spray the faces. Because the faces are the most important thing, what you see. Especially when you're going black, dark, any dark colors, you're really gonna see any imperfections in the spray pattern. So that front line, this is exactly why we do it. See how the back tails off nicely, fades away, but that front straight line, that's what we want to avoid, and that's why we blow the tips out. All right, doors are coming out. Now look how nice they look. This is full catalyzation, completely dry, 10 sheen, looking nice and smooth. Let's check the surface temperature because you can't spray when it's too hot. We're at 97, 96, 97, we need 70. So we gotta drop these down in temperature and then spray the faces, but that's what I'm looking for. Full catalyzation, we got about 6 minutes through the machine, 3 passes, 2 minutes each. Beautiful. 10 sheen. This is Renner 851 10 sheen in Onyx. All right, we're at about 95 degrees on the surface. I need 70. What I have is an air makeup unit, so it's filtered air coming in. I turn the heat off, so it's just bringing the outside air. Right now it's about 20 degrees outside. This is gonna drop the temperature nicely for me. I'm gonna cheat the system a little bit using environmental conditions. I'll be able to spray in a couple minutes. All right, look at our temperature now. We're about 30 seconds in. We're into the 70s. Give it another minute or so. Get a nice close to 70. And the reason we want it to be 70 is it's not so much the other side, it's this side. I don't want an impression when I flip the door and put it back on the rack. If it's too warm, the coating is soft. Even if it's catalyzed, it's still soft when it's heated. So once it gets down to 70, room temperature, I can spray. Taking another minute or so, we'll have this knocked out. All right, so here's another trick. We're gonna check the temperature before we spray on the belt. So this is basically the temperature inside the machine. Let's just pretend that's what it is. We're hovering around 135, 140. Now that's too hot compared to where I sprayed the first coat on the back side. We were in preheat, remember. So what I'm gonna do for about 5 minutes is I'm going to exhaust the heat out. I'm gonna bring this up to 100, the exhaust motor up. And what I'm doing is I'm dropping the temperature inside the Unidry back to preheat setting. Because for whatever reason, and we have a chart based on outside humidity and temperature, when you do preheat, or when you put the doors through preheat, they come out great, especially when you're running 2 passes. So watch, we're already into the 120s. Once I get that down to about 110, 105, 110, I'm gonna spray the doors. Again, here are our doors. 10 sheen, dry, catalyzed, ready to go. Cured, ready to go. And our control group, I would not touch that, it's still wet. Looks like a lake about to dry, or a lake that's about to stop moving at night. It's still a little shimmery. So the benefit of having a Unidry attached to your system is we're spraying the faces. Just to reiterate again, I'm gonna blow the tips out. I'm gonna fake a door, just covering the laser in there. This bar over here, which is attached to the top side, that measures the door, and it sends a signal to the gun. It tells it when to spray. So now I'm faking it out, imagining a door that's gonna come through, just to blow these tips out before I spray the faces. All right, front sides are in. Blowout looks good. Front pattern's got a little spot right there, but you can see that as it moved through, it cleaned it up nicely. And you'll see how it looks when we start spraying the faces. The gun is going to start about 8 inches from the face. And that would be a typical spray pattern in the booth. I really start about 4 to 6 inches, but from the distance where the tips are here, we're going to get about 8 inches away, and it's about to start. And that's what you're looking through, like a nice peppering in to a solid 4 wet mils. Again, this is 851 10 sheen, a Renner product. And the tips are what's called a soft chevron. And people always ask, what's the angle of this tip? How do you get it into the corner? It's not square, it's not perpendicular to the track. It's actually at an angle. It's like this, a soft chevron, and there are 4 angles. So one is like this, the other one is like this, and then the one on the left is like this, and then it's like this. It's almost like a diamond. Again, this is Onyx 10 sheen Renner. If you want to know, this is a Cefla Prima. I had it off. I'm going to bring this back to 30 or 30%. Make sure I close my cover. Everything is off. I'm going to let it run through as if I was doing preheat. Let's see what the temperature is now. I was looking for a little over 100. And we're at 120. I'll take it. Just off of that 140 mark, I was really looking for 105, 110. So as the doors come out, you can just sneak a peek here. As they're coming out here, I want to clean the tips. Super, super important. Make your own solution that you like. This is how you make sure the spray pattern is always good. I just soak the tip with the solution that we make up. and then you're gonna wipe them clean. And you're doing this every single time. It is not spray. Every time it stops. You want to clean these tips. This is how you're going to keep your consistent spray pattern. Very important. Probably one of the most important things you could do here is clean these tips before every time you spray. The doors are inside the Unidry. The Unidry is powered by 6 sunspots. Right now, every one of the sunspots is off. It's in standby mode, no gas. There's just some heat in it. It's basically in preheat mode. I'm gonna wait for these to come off. What I'm doing is flashing off the paint. I want to flash off the paint before I put some heat to it, and it will give me a much better and a much flatter finish. I clean the tips out after they're getting sprayed, and let's see if we can see them. If the heat was on, you'd see it. You would definitely see the heat cascading off of there, almost like a hot road. And they're about to walk out. Again, just in preheat. So what I'm looking for is a lake. And that's what I'm looking for. Nice and easy. This is water-based, and this is the ripple. You don't really see this on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok. People will show you the after, but this is what to expect with water-based coatings. It's just gonna ripple up, and this will sit flat. I'm bringing the doors to a little cheat section. We can move these. We're gonna turn the heat on. Now let's look at our control. Still a little wet. So if we sprayed in the booth and let them air dry, this is where we would be, kind of nowhere. Out to lunch, waiting for stuff to dry. We were already on the faces using a Unidry. So we're gonna go back to 11 on the last one. And that's what we did the first go around, I think. Hopefully I'm still on. We're on 11, we're gonna run that through, and then we're gonna do full cure. All right, I'm going 18, 22, 60 again. We're looking nice. But here they are. Sitting nice and flat. That's your Renner 10 sheen. Touchable. I'll wait till it gets to the end so it drops in temperature. And we're gonna spray one more coat on the face. This time we're gonna spray at a bigger mill thickness. So I'm gonna spray it 5 wet mills, and I'm gonna let it air dry overnight. That's gonna give me the real finish I'm looking for. 4 wet mills was great for the machine. I spray 5 to 6 in the booth. So I'm gonna go 5 to 6 on this. As you can see, some at really high light, you can see some of the machine scratch marks from the factory that we want to get rid of. These are refinished doors directly from the factory. We just polish, or we just degloss them. So anything that you see here, a 5-6 wet mill will cover. You're just seeing it at a really, really, really high light. But we want to get rid of that. So a 5-6 wet mill will definitely do the trick. Now these doors are warm. So just like the other time, I'll put it through, I'll knock off the heat from the AMU, the air makeup unit, and then I'll be able to cool them down and respray them. But see the scratch? Get rid of that scratch. All right, we're walking by our control group. This is so we've done this, backs, fronts. I'm about to do the fronts again. I still wouldn't touch this. So this is our control. These are just test panels. So I've sprayed these off. Imagine if that was just air drying. The productivity of this machine speaks for itself. I'm gonna raise the pressure, and that's how we're gonna increase the thickness of the paint. We're gonna go up. Right now I'm at 15 PSI on a Merker. And I'm gonna go to So that's misleading. That's sitting pressure. Once it starts spraying, that's going to drop 5 psi. So you got to really pay attention. I'm going to go to 22, which will bring me to 17. That will relate to about 5 wet mils. So just like before, I want to blow the tips out. Make sure that I'm not going to get a funky spray pattern, especially to my final coat. I'm spraying Onyx, dark black. Don't want to mess this up. If you mess it up, you basically are starting all over again. So good dusting out of the first 2 tips. Let's see the back 2. See a little better there. Nice and flat spray patterns, looking good. Let's rock and roll. I am about to run them through. Second on the face. This is what we would call in the business wet on wet. Now, wet on wet does not mean that the coating is wet. It's just an industry term meaning that you're rushing. No, just kidding. It's just an industry term meaning that there's an open time for the paint that you can spray without sanding or deglossing. That's called wet on wet. And now as you see, I'm stacking them back to back, and I'll show you why in a second. Let's just check out the spray pattern before the first one hits. Should be nice and even. We're gonna start about 8 inches off of the face. Nice, see the dusting? That's what I'm looking for. And we've increased the thickness of the paint that we're spraying because I'm not gonna have it go through the dryer. I'm gonna let these air dry. And it's gonna sit a lot flatter with a thicker coating. When I'm spraying in the booth, I go up to 6 wet mils with the renner, and it comes out really nicely. So I've increased the pressure, that's how you do it. And I'm going back to back here, and I'll show you why right now. Or, see your spray? It's a lot thicker than you would spray out of this if you're drying with the Unidry. But I'm not. I'm actually gonna pick these off. Let me move this. I'm gonna pick these off right here. I'm gonna lift up our pressure door. I'm lifting up our pressure door. That's what a close-up of water-based paint looks like when it's sprayed. It does have some shimmer to it. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick these up before it even gets to this enclosure. Now you only want to do this if you have an air makeup unit, because the air makeup unit filters the air in the room. You don't want to have dust floating around, especially when you're spraying. Don't let anybody sand. You're going to do an open dry like this, but this is how you do it when you spray a thicker coating. That is 6 wet mils. You could put a little fluid in there to let it sit a little faster, but I don't like adding any thinner or thinning material. In this case, it would be distilled water. Watch how flat that sits. Give it some time. Again, we're air drying right now, and we're gonna let it dry overnight. The process of cleaning. The most important thing with this machine is keeping it clean. When you're cleaning this machine, I'm fortunate enough to have a second, third, and a clean pump. So this one just goes to water. And what we're gonna do is turn this to S, which stands for solvent, but in this case, it's water, because it's a water-based system. And I'm gonna just force purge the line by turning these both to manual mode. That means that the wheel is going to turn, and then turning this to manual mode. This is the spray head, and I'm going to force purge the solvent to come through the line. And it's gonna blow out all that black. But I'm running 2 at the same time. I'm gonna drop the pressure of 1. Actually, I need pressure. It helps if you put pressure behind the gun. And we're pushing out the black paint, running water through the line, and I'm gonna drop some simple green in there and really clean out those lines before I go back to white. So this is cleaning out the heads. This is cleaning out the pump I was using. And that's gonna run because it's black. It's gonna run a little bit to get that cleaned out. There's a filter here that has to be cleaned out. There's a filter in the gun heads. It's right in the middle that has to be cleaned out. And just like airless, the tips have to be cleaned out. But look how nice it's coming out. Now we're almost at clean water through the gun heads. It's looking good, but this is about a 5 to 7 minute process if you know what you're doing. And it's got to be crystal clean. Now in the booth I have the boxes and the drawers, and these drawers I cannot get, they're glued to the drawer box. So we're gonna work on the cleaning while everything is dry. I plastic off everything. We're gonna cut this back, change the plastic every time. It is what it is. Now the filter is this thing is filter. I leave this plastic covered and I change this plastic every single time I spray, every single color. I'll just change it out. Now I'm gonna swap this. I'm gonna drop the pressure to number 3. So there's 4 inlet hoses. 3 has nothing on it, so there's no pressure going this way. And then I'm gonna take this off. Let me show you how. Take a towel. Put the towel on the lock nut. Twist. It's gonna relieve the pressure. This is our filter. It's obviously dirty with onyx. What I'm going to do up here is I'm going to switch that knob to S, and this is going to force the water through the guns, and it's going to give me some clean water just to clean off this filter. I could take this to the sink and do it that way. This just makes it easier. I have a bucket under here. Catches all the water, and then I'll bring it back to S once I'm satisfied with the clean. And I'm going to turn this to my gun that I was using is 2, just to make sure that's coming out clean. Put the filter back in. Just use a towel to protect the ridges in the lock nut. Tighten it. Good to go. Bring it back to S just to check the pressure, make sure you don't have a leak. It's good. I'm gonna take the plastic off, start. I'm gonna blow this out one more time and then take the plastic off. Okay, so we are at S, which is solvent. I'm gonna push this into manual mode. It's gonna blow out those tips again. What I'm looking for is clear, so it looks good. Turn this off for a second. All right, then I'm gonna clean out the filter over there. The filter in a Merker is basically like the filter in an airless. We're gonna turn the pressure off of the pump itself, relieve the pressure of the exiting hose, and now the pressure is out of the system. If you don't do this, you'll never be able to get this off. But now the pressure is down to 0. I'm able to remove the filter. If you can't open that by hand, you have not successfully relieved the pressure. I'm going to take this to the sink and do it, but if you flush it well, it should be pretty clean. Okay, our filter is clean. My hand tighten this back in. It's harder with one hand than I thought. Thread it back on. And then I'm gonna close this hose. Open this pressure nice and slowly. And then let it run a little bit. Open the hose. Just make sure I'm running clean. I'm looking for just clean water. It looks pretty good. It's closed off, but you want to make sure that you're really clean. So add a little simple green to your tank. This is just a wash tank. And we're going to cycle that through with hot water and simple green and let that sit, because we are spraying White Dove and Alabaster next. I'm going to take these tips off next and then put it through the tip cleaner. All right, now we have our tips to clean just like regular airless. These are flat caps. These are just G40 automatic guns. Now what I'm really looking for, if you know that you're successful at this, the inside of this should be as clean as you put it on. That's when you know your O-rings are nice, your inside of your spray head looks good, it's nice and clean in there. That's what you're looking for, as clean as I put it on. If that's filled with paint, your spray pattern is going to suck. You're going to hate this, and you're going to wish you did what I did every single time you washed out, and that was clean. Yes, annoying, but you have to be militant about this. This machine will spray a heck of a lot of doors really fast, but it'll also screw up a heck of a lot of doors really fast. The cleaner you are, the better this is. All right, we got our spray heads. I mean, it's been a long day. Basically the guards. And this, an ultrasonic cleaner. There's simple green in here and a basket. Show you. My Booth Kremlin is in here as well. I had this heated up to 50 Celsius. I'm going to put my tips in. These little guys right there. This is just a jewelry ultrasonic cleaner. It's got simple green in there. It's pretty easy to use. I leave it at 50, keep everything nice and warm. Keeps it all loose. Tomorrow, when I'm ready to spray the next set of colors, I'm going to take this to the sink. I'm going to use a soft bristle brush, and this water-based coating will come right off. There you go. Drop this bad boy in there. Cover it with this. Now it's clean. All right, one last move I want to do is just check the purity of how clean this is. Now, we were spraying black before. Ooh, try to do this with two hands. I want to see soap. That's good. What I don't want is any residue. That looks good. See, soapy water. I'm going to let this sit. Tomorrow, I'm going to flush this through for about 5 minutes. It's going to take all the soap out of the lines. Before I spray, I'm going to spray through with water out of the solvent pump, flush the lines even more, and I'll be ready to spray the whites. All right, when you're all finished, you're going to press that button. You're going to turn all this stuff off. That's the belt. These are all in standby mode, so you're just going to hold stop fault, and it's going to go to thermostop, no probe. I'll explain that in another video. Turn these all off. Turn the belts off. This belt, when you buy one of these, sometimes this will be a different color. This is blue. That can go up to 300 degrees. The other belt, you'd have to let it cool down before you can turn this whole thing off. But we have the new belt, so you can turn this thing right off. All right, so let's look at, this is our control. So we've sprayed, waxed, Fronts. Still a little bit wet. I wouldn't spray this again. It's still not what I consider wet on wet because it's still really wet. Wet on wet again is a technical term that we use to mean that it's a material we can spray without sanding between coats. So that's our control. This is our 6 mil. And you can see it's ripply. You let this sit overnight, that thing is gonna be just like I showed you the other one. Wait till that sets up. Don't move too fast around it. You got dust all over, you have no idea. Don't shuffle your feet. We're gonna walk back out of here. We'll turn the radio off and get the hell out of here. So this is the stuff in the booth. That our drawers that I can't get off of the faces because they're glued. So this is 6 wet mils sprayed by hands. That is what those doors are gonna come out to be. That's what you're looking for. Nice velvety, soft finish. Iconic. All right, I'm in the booth. Walking nice and slow. I don't open doors too fast. Definitely don't open these doors. Don't open those back barn doors if you have anything in here, especially when you have black in here. Black is a very tough color to spray. Onyx isn't as quite as black as it gets, but it's pretty dark. The problem is most of the dust is white. So you have white and light grays and it's caught, just airborne dust everywhere. It's coming through, even comes through a packed filter. It makes its way through. These are the drawer faces I can't get off because they're glued on, so you have to mask around it. These are the boxes. Now if you look, that's the finish you're looking for. Nice velvety finish. And I have another drawer face. The client's gonna come in a couple of days to pick them up. I'm gonna slowly walk out of the booth because dust is on everything. Just when you spray it, it's what happens. So before I spray another color, I'm gonna clean the booth and then get right to it. I will shut this down, turn the lights off, hit it. The ultrasonic is still going. I'm gonna turn the AMU off. The Prima is gonna be sleeping. The Unidry is off itself. Everything is really tight and ready to go for tomorrow. When you do have a shop, you gotta make sure that whatever you're gonna do tomorrow, you kinda get ready for it today. So when you're back of your head, why did I spray black at the end of the day? It's really the darkest color that we're spraying. I want to make sure the machine is clean at the nighttime, and then tomorrow I'm going to re-clean the machine and do my lights and my clears through the machine tomorrow, but I want to get this out of the way. You could go clear, white, black. You could do that as well. This is just the order of events that we've had in here. So tomorrow I have white dove, decorator's white, thunder is another color. I don't know, it's like whatever this is. This is thunder. White dove, decorator's white, and maybe chantilly lace. If you have any questions about a Prima, a Kremlin, running a company that does this for a living, really coding questions, because just because you see people spray with an airless, that doesn't mean their spray pattern is good. It really is technique. Just because the coating is on there and it's got full coverage doesn't mean that it's not too heavy. Too heavy of a coating is going to crack over time. You have to make sure that at all times you have your guys measure the thickness of their paint when they spray it wet, because all coatings have a dry mill thickness tolerance. If you go past that, you're going to fail. You won't know it today, you won't know it tomorrow, but you will know it in 6 months. So these guys that are spraying airless and they go fast, not a problem. The experienced guys, they know their coatings. This just takes time and experience. But the new guys, you got to watch. Just because you're blowing and going doesn't mean you're going to get callbacks. Doesn't mean you're not going to get callbacks 6 months down the road, a year down the road, and you're not going to know why. But I can tell you why, because I can watch your spray pattern. So if you're looking to learn how to do this, we don't charge for training. You can always come here and I'll break your you-know-what, and I'll make sure that you spray even coating. Or you can come and learn how to cheat with the Cefla Prima. It is a great investment. It's a big investment, but you're never going to get a better spray pattern than a machine. The machine is always dialed in correctly. You just have to know your pressure drops to make sure your wet mills are within tolerance of the coatings. Every coating is different. Solvent-based coatings, water-based coatings, 2K systems, single component systems, different brands, Malaysia, Renner, ICA, Centurion, there's Ilva here. I use them in different times. That just comes from experience. Sometimes it comes from what the client requests. Most of the time it just comes from experience. The colors, the detail, whatever I'm spraying, where I'm spraying, it's all important. It's not just the one system, it's not one does it all. There's different times I use different colors different times I use different coatings based on the colors, based on the sheen. What am I trying to achieve? I think that's it for tonight. I'm sprayed out, but I'll be spraying 3 or 4 more colors tomorrow through this, and that's the only way you're gonna get it done with a Prima. All right, take care. All right, the ultrasonic is finished. Now look how clean these come out. What else can you say? So here are the doors in the morning. So here's our control piece. Here's our doors. Like I told you, it's gonna sit nice and flat. All right, so here are our doors in the morning. So here are the doors in the morning. Sit nice and flat. Got the 10 sheen with a lot of light on it. Let's get them wrapped. And look at our control. This is a fiber MDF or junky thing that you spray off. But look how flat that sits. Can't really do anything with the actual material itself. The ripples in the product. This isn't real wood. This is made out of who knows what. So you can't get the striations off. But look how flat the coating is sitting. That's gorgeous.